Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Round 2 from Silverstone International. Our tour of the PES qualifier circuits continue, and for the third year in a row, it is the abbreviated version of Silverstone featuring Stowe and Club and Abbey and the Loop, which we'll be visiting for this round 2 of the championship. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Aaron Smith. Samuli Kumo is bringing you this stream on Apex Racing TV. And Aaron, we saw some absolutely phenomenal drives last time out. This is a super competitive series. It always is whenever we have the PES qualifiers mirroring this championship. And of course it was Pascal Costa who managed to get a perfect score last time out with a pole position and the fastest lap as well. We wait to see if him and his Impulse Racing teammate Philip Hammer can keep up that charge at round 2 of the season.
I mean, they're both fantastic drivers. Very much, we saw that last time out at Hockenheimring, and we've just seen them in loads of different series. Hammer, of course, is champion of this series, and Pascal Costa is not too shabby himself. But they kicked off this season with an absolute bang, getting that 1-2 in that feature race. Great teamwork between the two of them, and of course it means they lead the championship 1 and 2 at the moment with a fairly decent gap over Parker White already. And well, he's one of the main contenders as well. Parker White did very much look one of the favourites to win last time out, but just lacked that little bit of pace in the end and could not defeat the Impulse Racing cars in front of him. I think everyone else in the pros has got a little bit of catching up to do to those top 3. But, it's only been one round. You never know what's going to happen over the next 5. And, well, judging by the practice, lap times, it looks awfully close here. But then again, it is an awfully short lap time.
Yeah, another one of these shorter layouts that we use for all the rounds apart from Imola, because there is no short layout of Imola. I'm sure if iRacing had half the chance, they would take it. When it comes to shortening that Imola circuit. In the Pro-Am Championship, it's Jan Bol, one of the debutants, currently up on top. Lane did win the A final, but you score points for not only the A final and B final, but also your heats. So Bol did, across the night, score more points, but you can see it is ever so close. Joseph Dimbolo looked very strong there. Ben Pedersen, I don't believe, is around tonight. I think he may have given us some notice that he wasn't going to be able to make it due to work. Also, he is based in Australia, so very early wake up for him. So he may fall back from 6th place. And in the Amateur Championship, we have currently got Luke Swan up on top. the runner-up from last season looking to go one better. And I think we may also have the Teams Championship as well, which we might be able to show you. And at the moment, that is Impulse Racing obviously leading that because they finished a 1-2 last time out. Fiercely Forwards in second and Track Scotland in third.
You definitely got to say that Impulse are going to look the favourites to win that championship this season, especially after that amazing teamwork they produced last time out. But the only thing that you have to think about when you have two quick drivers in the same team is they're inevitably going to go wheel to wheel eventually. You know, there's going to be 1 week where maybe Philip Hammer is the quicker driver, and 1 week where Pascal's going to be the quicker driver. They've got to be careful about that, not to, intervene with each other's races too much and just work as a team. But of course, they might want to go head-to-head in the championship as well. Philip Hammer got his camera up for us nicely as well, bottom left, and I believe every single driver can opt to have their camera on the series as Philip Hammer completes his qualifying session. He's gone back to the pits as Plesher comes across the line. It's actually bigger gaps than I thought it would be, considering it's only a 1 minute 4 lap time here. But remember last time out, we did say that you don't get many opportunities to get a good lap time in this series. What is it, only 2 flying laps these guys get? It's basically one shot.
Yeah, and sometimes the drivers will use their first lap just as a warm-up, so it really does become a one-shot for them. Not particularly easy with the off-tracks as well around this circuit, and it's currently Roger Christensen up on pole position. A new driver to this series, the only driver who signed up since round 1. So Christensen on the grid, and he's making an impact for Valkyrie X-Type, 300 a second. He's on pole by Costa, Zavadil, and White. Round out the first 2 rows. De Wist moves up to 22nd. By the way, top of the Pro-Ams, Salvatore Lane. Top of the AMs, Luke Swan. So a couple of our top drivers in the Pro-Am and the AM Championships currently on pole position as well.
Well, that's what you like to see. San Miguel coming across the line. Where's he going to be? I don't think he's quite set his lap time yet. No, he does go 27th. Couple of seconds off the pace. And, well, Christensen, like you say, the only driver to just randomly pop in after this second round. And he stuck it on pole. I'd say that's a pretty good way to shoot your way onto this series. Missed the first round. And, well, he already looks like he could be fairly speedy. And, well, let's see what kind of lap times he does during the race. Can he take on the likes of Costa, Zavadil, and White? It was fairly feisty in the first heat races that we had at Hockenheim, and then in the feature race, it's started to simmer down a little bit as the race is a little bit longer. But who's it going to be this week? And in the Pro-Ams, in the AMs, it's just a roll of a dice half the time. And well, the pros definitely looking very, very interesting. The top 6 separated by only 0.2 of a second, and well, that's what you like to see.
And Christensen is a former champion of the season. He won back in season 5 with his RPC, as they were back then. RPC Esports, who beat Strom and Goddestad in a very close championship. Won it on the last round of the season. San Miguel moves up another position ahead of Michel. So Christensen's got a lot of pedigree. He did also win, I believe, 1 race last season, if I recall correctly, at Spa. Or maybe that was the season before. That was the season before, I think. Not sure if he did last season. But basically, he's very good. So it's not a huge surprise that he's on pole position. But it is a welcome, welcome return for one of the stalwarts of this championship. San Miguel's the only driver on the grid. I think if he toes back, then that would advance the session, but instead he's just hanging around on circuit. Now he toes back with 5 seconds to go anyway, so the advancing won't make too much of a difference, and we'll soon have our first grid of the season. And of course, for new viewers, the drivers are split in half. The odd drivers go into the first heat, and the even drivers from qualifying go into the second heat. And so it will only be a grid of 15 for this Heat 1. At the front of it is overall pole sitter Roger Christensen, ahead of Dalton Zavadil. Then it's Igor Kos, rounding out a all-pro top 3. Then it's Salvatore Lane, Ethan Bernard, Jan Bol, championship leader, remember, in the Prams. Then it's Zhang Yufai Li, Damir Makhmutov, Enzo Lorenzato, Yannick Plesher, Boris Bitterov, Kim Andre Bjorklund, Dan Jones, Adrian McCall, and Dave Gilmore in 15th.
I think this first heat race is going to be a bit unknown, to be honest. I think Silverstone kind of is just an aggressive track, to be honest. This first lap is very, very important here. So I honestly think this first lap is going to be just utter chaos, to be honest, especially once we come down to Village. As well, that's one of the more chaotic first few corners in all of iRacing, in my opinion. It really can send a spiral effect down the rest of the grid. And, well, just another driver that's just keeping a key eye on. Igor Kos had an absolutely dreadful first round last time out in Hockenheimring, and he definitely is going to look to bounce back. So keep an eye on the German, currently on the second row on the grid. We're currently waiting for him and Gilmore to get themselves on the grid so we can go racing. And now it's just Kos that we're patiently waiting for.
Yeah, but I'm losing patience, honestly, for
Yep,
Igor.
so am
Come on, Igor. Oh, he's there now. There you go. On that position in third place. Let's see what type of launch he can get. The lights are about to come on here at Silverstone to get underway the second meeting of the season. And it is a decent start for our second place man. It was a best start for third place. It was a great start for Kos. And it looks like Zavadil might immediately move up into first place. It wasn't a great launch from Christensen, who's just trying to hold on to second place as they head into the hairpins for the first time. Looking aggressive well behind is Salvatore Lani, trying to hold on to that pro-am lead against Jan Boll, who's had a strong start from 6th place on the grid. They'll go 2 by 2. Bernard as well, looking pretty feisty. Looks like Kostas hold on to second place, but Zavadil is well out in the lead already.
Honestly, Christensen is going to be absolutely kicking himself. You honestly, the pain that you feel as a driver getting a poor launch, especially when you start at the front of the field, it actually hurts your heart. It's a sinking feeling, but Christensen is not going to go down that easily, though, as he gets back in front of Igor Kos momentarily as we come now down towards Vale. Oh, there's an accident in the background, and that's taken out Kos. Again, I told you to keep an eye on him, and well, it's gotten even more heartbreak for Igor Kos, and he's gone right to the back once again. This man cannot catch a break at all, and he's got even more work to do in this race to get back into that top 7 and automatically promote himself into the feature race. I don't quite know what happened there. I think someone going into Vale just locked a rear brake and sent everyone round. I think it was Boll, possibly, who was the driver who started all that. Of course, we'll get a replay eventually of what happened. As you can see there on the outside, Christensen goes past, and Christensen is very lucky. Yeah, look at Jan Boll. Oh, it was the driver behind, actually, who sent him round. And I think that might have been Bernard. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was a bit Bernard who was, because it was sort of the contact under braking from Bernard. The move was on, but he just made it a little bit too tight, and once he made that little bit of contact with Jan Boll, who's the impulse racing car, maybe Boll was moving across, you could argue. The stewards will have a look at it. Aaron's not convinced, but Bernard's up into third position, and now Boll has a lot of work to do. So too does Kos. Top 7 from this race goes straight into the A final, so that's where they want to get up to. But I mean, there is a bit of a gap between 6th and 7th, so it looks like one of them will get through, the other may have to miss out.
Yeah, potentially. Still a fairly decent way to go in this race. We've only had the first 3 laps, but just on that incident, I don't know, it's kind of one of those ones where both of them just move towards each other. I think Boll kind of moved towards the left. I'm not sure if the car on the outside was trying to go for a move, so maybe he was going a bit defensive. But just a really awkward one, and like you said, the stewards will have their say. Here's Igor Kos making progress up to 9th place. He's got Lee in front of him, who I must say, oh, that's very deep from Kos, actually. He's going to lose out on that 9th place. He went far too deep into Stowe corner. Maybe the frustration starting to creep in as he's just got a little tap on the rear from Mikal. And, well, I wouldn't be surprised if Kos is feeling a little bit, seeing a bit of red mist, especially after last week. That's very, very tail happy coming around the final corner for Plessia as Boll goes up the inside into 11th place. Going to be a few comebacks over the next few minutes. Boll down there, of course. Going to see Kos coming through the field. But like I was going to say, Lee today is really off the pace. I don't know what's going on with Lee, but he does seem to, that's the car in front that has a bit of damage, but Lee has, I think he qualified something like below the top 10. It was, he just doesn't seem to have the pace around it.
Yeah, he qualified very well at Hockenheim, didn't he? And then sort of just held on to that position, I think, in the heat at least.
Yeah.
Finished in 3rd position. But yeah, I think he qualified up in like 5th or 6th last time out. Whereas this time he qualified in 13th. So yeah, it's a little bit lower for Lee. One of our lower I-rated pro drivers, only 6.9k. Is Lee. He is currently behind 2.5k man, Bitteroff, which just demonstrates how well Bitteroff is driving at the moment. Ball, by the way, has got past Mikau. Mikau, who started way back, I think messed up his qualifying laps. He might be a dark horse come the B final. But it's currently Bitteroff holding on to that 7th place, and that will put him straight through into the A final. The rest will have to go into the B final, which poses a lot of jeopardy for the drivers. You want to avoid it if you possibly can. There's Dalton Zavadil leading the way by 1.8 seconds. He's pulling away by just a few hundredths of a second, but it's all he needs. And frankly, that top 6 looks completely set. Big gaps between each of them. It's really what's going to happen for that 7th place, which matters, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the top 6 is probably just going to stay like this for the rest of the race. I don't really see anyone potentially making any moves. I mean, maybe Bernard and Christensen. No, Bernard and Larnay. My apologies. Christensen looks fairly comfortable there in 2nd place. But yeah, that battle for 3rd possibly eventually might get interesting. It is for the Pro-Am victory, of course, and the final spot on the podium. And, well, like I mentioned last week, you really do want to be in this first heat. Obviously, you can't, exactly place yourself in qualifying where you want to be, but I genuinely think you want to be in this first heat. It gets you in a better grid position if you finished in the same place in the 2nd heat. You really do want to be here. So every driver here just got to make the best of the situation that they're in. And, well, like you say, the battle for 7th is going to be the one we're looking out for the most, as Bitteralf had a bit of a disappointing opening round at Hockenheim. Had some technical problems, I believe, and couldn't make the final race. But he's doing pretty well at the moment, up into 7th, and momentarily is getting straight through to that A final. But he's got a couple drivers behind him that you would say are probably faster, but I don't think Bitteralf is going to give it up that easily.
Yeah, we don't really know how aggressive he is. He's a rookie driver, is Bitterroff, so yet to see how much respect he has for the pro drivers. By the way, welcome to everyone in chat. T-Bolt supporting Enzo Lorenzato, who will be in Heat 2 coming up in a moment, as I think that is Igor Koss moving up into 8th position. Lee doesn't fight it too much, and actually Lee might be vulnerable from Bowl because he lifted off quite as much as he did. So Koss with one more place that he needs to get into the top 7. Stonehill Rally, welcome. Lion0510 asking, how do you sign up for Apex Racing League? There is a link posted in the description if you did not see Lion. And Liam Slip just asking if Horn is in this split. Nick Horn is not in this split. He didn't sign up for some reason. I don't know why. Get him to sign up, Liam. But he is not in this race, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Boll also gets past Lee, and that is for 9th.
I really do not know what's going on with Lee today. He just really is struggling around the Silverstone circuit. And, well, at least last time he had some decent pace in qualifying. In the race, he struggled a little bit, but, at least he was up there. But Lee just, honestly, at the moment, I don't know if you'd call him a pro necessarily. He really does look that far off the pace and slipping further and further back. And, well, you have to say he's definitely going to have to step it up a bit in that B final. Ooh. And there's a driver off. Who is that?
Lorenzato.
Who was that? That's Lorenzato. One of the drivers who we thought, like you said, was dead set in 6th place, looked fairly comfortable, has made a tiny mistake coming out of, I think it's the coming through turn 4. I don't really know how he's made that mistake, but let's take a look anyway. And coming through Village, everything looks fairly normal. He was going a bit slow. He's lost a bit of time, but that's a really awkward spin, and I don't really know how that's happened, to be honest. It's a fairly... It's hurting my head, that's all I'm saying. I can't even speak, but let's hope he can try and get back into that top 7. But the battle for the top up to 6th place has really started to heat up now. It's now between Lee, Lorenzato, Bowl, Kos and Bitteralf. And well, Bitteralf is laughing all the way to the bank as he can afford to maybe let Kos go and will still be inside that top 7. It's a really, really costly mistake by Lorenzato. And quite frankly, I don't know how he's done that. Maybe there's a bit of a bump coming through turn 4, but it just looked like such a strange spin.
Yeah, it's not a corner that we usually have to deal with, and yet the tyres were still spinning even tens of meters after the traction zone, it looks like. Bitteralf holding on. We've got one more lap to go. You can afford to let one of these guys pass. I'm sure he would not matter in the slightest for him whether he finishes 6th or 7th. He just wants one of those places. Bull, though, does need to gain a place. Lee feels like he's got a chance. He's actually got past Lorenzato on this lap. So Lee is up to 9th position. I wonder if Lorenzato is really struggling to struggle maybe with overheating those tyres. But yeah, it's make or break now for Kos and Bowl. Is one of them going to get through? Are both of them going to get through at the expense of Bitteralf?
Well, let's find out. We've only got about another 7 corners to go to try and find out. Through Village we go. It doesn't look like Kos has a massive pace advantage on Bitteralf. He does look quicker, but not by a massive amount. I'm not sure what Kos is going to be able to do. Needs to get this overtake done into Stowe if he wants to get up to 6th place. And, well, of course, they're both already inside of that top 7, so necessarily they don't have to fight. And I don't think Kos is going to be able to do it. I think they're going to stay as they are unless someone goes for a massive send. It does look like Kos is getting closer and closer as Zavadil crosses the line to win in this first heat. I think Kos is going to go for the move. They've got to be careful, and Kos couldn't quite get it done. And I think that's going to be it for this first heat race. It's going to be Bitteralf getting the best of the drivers behind, finishing in a fantastic 6th place. What a fantastic comeback from last week to now, instantly getting through into that A final, and Kos just about scraping through. I think Bowl is going to be very annoyed with himself after that mistake in the early parts of the race. Well, it depends what you look on that situation, but Bowl will definitely be one of the more favourites to win that B final. But I'd say that was a pretty good opening race, and threw a bit of chaos in there as well.
Yeah, not particularly close at the front, but yeah, the drivers having to come back from early deficiencies certainly made it very interesting. Let's have a look at the grid then for race 2. Pascal Costa on pole. Nance Parker, White, Philip Hammond. That's a very competitive top 4 actually, because Bernardo Farrier is there as well. Dimbelow lines up in 5th against championship leader Luke Swan. Ryan Walker, Guillaume Van Hout, Matt Strand, Kieran Smart, Andrew Dewhurst. Jay Walsh in 12th, then it's Juan San Miguel and Ivan Maldonado, rounding out Latin American bottom row of the grid, as Maldonado is just the last driver to get on the grid. Hopefully he does make it, because we've only got a minute of gridding up, so he's got to be fairly quick. He's got 5 seconds to go, but he does make it just in time, and hopefully he has a good race from that 14th position. But it's Pascal Costa looking for a better start than what the pole sitter in race 1 managed, as we launch away, and it does look like it's a much better start. Good start as well for Parker White. He'll dip into the draft. Nice start from Bernardo Farrier. He's already got past Philip Hammer, heading into turn 1, and the defending champion might lose another place, as Joseph Dimbelow, a driver who he fought on a couple of occasions last season, also moves alongside. Hammer now looking back on the offensive, but he cannot shrug off Dimbelow as Hammer now spins it round. Maybe took a little bit too much curb. Fortunately, everyone had to check up behind him, so he barely lost any places, just down to 5th, as Pascal Costa having to go mega defensive against White at the moment, and Farrier's got a great chance from 3rd as well.
Honestly, what an opening few corners we've just had. It's absolute bedlam all the way up and down the grid as we head into Stowe. Everyone checking up, very aggressive defensive moves, as that's Dimbelow going extremely wide. I think he might have got a bit tail happy under braking. And, well, they've swapped back places. Philip Hammer gets into 4th place, Dimbelow down to 5th. But, honestly, it's been very chaotic. But the positions are still relatively the same as where we started, but Farrier up to second place. Hats off to the Brazilian, an absolutely amazing start for him. Someone who's maybe been lacking so far this season has just come out the gate swinging, and possibly feels a victory's on the cards here against Pascal Costa. He does look very racy. What can Parker White do behind? He obviously looks the one to initially take the fight to Costa, but just unfortunate circumstance through those last few corners on that first lap just put him in an awkward place, and he's now down to third. Philip Hammer, shockingly, actually isn't that far behind, considering he nearly spun the car around coming through turn 3.
Swan with some connection issues, but he's back again in sixth place, still leader of the amateurs. Dimbolo leader of the pros. Dimbolo outbroke himself into Stowe on lap 1, had to take evasive action and went wide as a consequence. And then just as we pulled away from that, it was a slight mistake from White. He sort of went a little bit too hot into the back of Costa through Stowe, sort of mid-corner, had to get out of it, had to straighten up the car, and Barry was there to pick up the pieces. So very good heads-up driving there from the Brazilian, usually one of the more aggressive drivers on the grid, but he is absolutely one of the most competitive and will be looking to get into the Contenders Series once again this year, just as he did last year as well. Jay Walsh versus Dewhurst currently going on. Also the Scottish drivers, Smart and Walker, swapping places. Smart up into 9th place, and that was Walsh staying ahead of Dewhurst.
Yeah, good defensive driving there from Jay Walsh. Swan, though, looks just an absolute dead set compared to the rest of the amateur field. Is about to get overtaken by Van Hoot as we go into Stowe Corner. The Belgian driver now putting himself up into 6th place. Still about a second and a half off of Dimbolo, but hopefully should potentially close that gap over the next few minutes. But I'd say Swan is got some decent pace right now, and I would say he looks fairly comfortable in that 7th place where he is, and I'm not sure what Strand and Smart are going to do from behind. I'd say Strand maybe has a little bit of a chance to try and overtake. In the background you see San Miguel and Dewhurst going side by side through the last corner. I don't see that too often, but the gaps at the top are just starting to open out a little bit. I'd say Costa definitely looks the quickest out of the top 3 at the moment. White is looking like he just needs to get past Farrier, as well. White has he definitely looked on par with Costa in terms of pace so far this season, but just in that feature race last time out, he just got stuck behind Philip Hammer for far too long. And I'd say Parker White just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, and he has to make these moves. Like now, he's gotten a better exit, potentially just needs to send it on the brakes, but just goes a little bit timid into these final few corners. And well, he's definitely got a different approach to how I do this.
Dewhurst just got past San Miguel. I'm really struggling with that name at the moment. He's up into 12th place, so those two are swapping back and forth constantly at the moment. There you can see the top 7 highlighted. Those are the drivers who are going straight through to the A final as it stands. But yeah, White's very close. We saw this sort of with White last time out, didn't we, as well, when he was in 3rd place in the A final, and Philip Hammer was constantly, throughout the race, just 2 or 3 tenths ahead of him, and he could never quite be able to overtake. Now, obviously, these circuits that we've got for this season, which copy the PES Qualifier Series, they really don't lend themselves to overtaking. The full circuit around here would be much more appropriate in order to get overtaking. Really, Stowe is the chance, unless you're going to really mug someone. Stowe is the best chance in order for you to pull alongside another driver. So it will be tricky for White to get past. He's halfway through this race. And Costa's raced against Bernardo Farrier as well. I think they raced against each other in the qualifiers last season and the Contenders Series last season. So they know each other very well.
Yeah, you definitely say that White looks the quicker driver out of him and Farrier, but like you mentioned, he's always around this 2-3 tenth gap, but just never seems to go for the move. And well, I mean, you know, here's you and me giving tips to a driver that has over double our iRating. Well, I don't think he'll.
If you're going to include it on the oval as well, then he's got about 4 times our iRating.
Well, exactly. There you go. So Yeah, I don't think White necessarily needs our advice, but you would say he's just got to be a little bit more aggressive, get those elbows out, and he has to get past Farrier because he just can't let Costa build up a gap in the championship as every single point matters. Look, he's so close here. He's about a tenth and a half away and doesn't go for the move into Vale. And, well, I know, obviously, like I mentioned before, he's got over double my iRacing, but you would say he's just got to get his elbows out a little bit because he is just going to be losing more and more and more points to Costa. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily focused on this championship and just using it as a warm-up, but either way, I'd say an extra trophy to your cabinet is more than welcome.
Duas, by the way, up into 11th position. Walsh with a slight setback is dropped behind San Miguel as well, but he is fighting that one. The two of them go alongside through Abbey, and then this one is Farm, and then heading into Village, the first hairpin. And not giving up is Walsh at the moment, but San Miguel for now is ahead. I wouldn't be surprised if the 316 does get ahead later on in the race. However, we had an interview with Parker White last time out, and he was saying that he's not going to do PESC next season. So I think he may have raced on Saturday, which voids his chance to get into PESC next season. Because technically he would get into the contenders, and contenders drivers aren't allowed to drive in the qualifiers. So by driving in the qualifiers, that made his spot invalidated for that. So that is a decision that he took. So he's basically just doing this for fun this season and would like to win the championship, I'm sure. Maldonado, the Puerto Rican round, and yeah, he's now a distant 14.
Yes, unfortunate for Maldonado, sort of languishing at the bottom of the timing screens, unfortunately. But coming back to Luke Swan, he's I thought he'd possibly have a bit better pace than he does at the moment, but has fallen into the clutches of Strand behind. So this is going to heat up over the next few laps. This is the battle which I think is going to be the closest, as it doesn't seem like White is going to be able to make a move on Farrier anytime soon. Is Strand going to go for a move on this lap, or is he just going to be a bit patient and wait until a final lap? As we do have 2 to go, I believe, this lap and next lap, as Strand gets very close under braking. Swan's going to have to watch out here because I think Strand has the pace advantage, and honestly I think he can just kind of go for a move into most of these corners. He just has to pick his opportunity, as well. It's going to be the make or break for him, isn't it? It's is he going to be in the B final? Is he going to be the A final? What's it going to be? The Australians versus the Norwegians? I don't know how many times that's been said in history, but well, we have it on track right now. Who's going to be victorious over these next lap and a half as we come through turn 4 and 5 now onto the Hangar Straight? This is, like we mentioned, probably the best overtaking opportunity on the track, getting into that slipstream, down into Stowe and then into Vale. But I don't quite think Strand is close enough on this lap. Just about. It's about a tenth away. He's going to have to slingshot around this next corner and try and go for a dive bomb. But once again, just isn't quite close enough. So he's going to have to leave it to this final lap.
Yeah, having to be really patient in that place, as this is as close as it's been all race long. Philip Hammer as well, just catching up to these guys slightly as well. In 4th place, the defending champion, but running the #1 due to his victory last season. Hammer, where he managed to secure some 6 race victories. I know it's 8 race victories out of 10 rounds that he competed in. It was an astonishing run of results for him. But he is currently victoryless so far this season. It looks like that run is going to continue with just a few corners to go. Parker White, he's got 2 more chances. Stowe is one of them, not really a big enough braking zone to go for the move here. And so it would just come down to a dive at Club. That is his only chance, but he's, I think, a little bit too far back. He has been closer through this race, and he moves around the wheel a little bit, but Barry is going to get that one done. So Costa, the Portuguese driver, is going to keep up his 100% winning record. It's now 3 from 3 from Costa He will start second place for the A final, but it's all he could do in this heat. Farrier beats out White. Hammer in 4th. Top of the pro-arms was Dimbley. Van Hout in 6th, and Swan does hold on. Strand wasn't able to pull off the move, and he will have to start in 2nd place in the B final.
Just something to note that I genuinely didn't notice until now. Look how close Philip Hammer is. That's Walsh getting very drifty around the final corner. Look how close Hammer was to the back of White. That's how much time Farrier was costing them. And I mean, Farrier did a fantastic job, don't get me wrong, in defending from the 2 drivers behind, but you do feel that White just had to be a little bit more aggressive there, get his elbows out and just get his way past the Brazilian, as he nearly fell into the clutches of Hammer. I mean, it was only 2 tenths between White and Hammer. I mean, Hammer was closer to White than White was to Farrier. That just goes to show. Honestly, I think White might be a little bit disappointed with that result. And remember, it means he's going to start in 6th because he finished in 3rd. I don't know. I think White probably isn't going to be happy with that result.
Yeah, I did say last time that this is one of his favourite circuits. Reminds him of an oval a bit because it is such a short circuit. It's also... no, it's actually clockwise. I was going to say it's anti-clockwise, but no, that's not a similarity. I guess ovals can be running both ways, right? Not really any of them.
No.
Anyway, I'll shut up and talk about the grid. It's the B final. Jan Boll on pole position alongside Matt Strand. They both looked really good in race 1, so I think they'll probably both go through. Then it's Jai Yufei Lee in 3rd, Kieran Smart in 4th, Enzo Lorenzato, who should have made it through. I'd put Boll, Strand and Lorenzato through. I'll see, as I can't even go through most of the grid. I was babbling too long, and already the lights are about to come on for the B final here at Silverstone. Boll from the pole position. It's a brilliant start from our pole sitter. Strand with a terrible start. He's going to drop 3 or 4 places before they even reach turn 1. A car already in the wall on the inside, and Walsh, I think, was involved. Gilmore skidding across the circuit, somehow splitting the crowds of drivers who move past him as Kieran Smart moves up into 3rd place. It's been a fantastic start for him, but Lorenzato not giving up on that one. He has the outside line for this next corner, and he continues to lose out. Strand recovering one of the positions that he lost in the early stages, so it looks really good for the Frenchman for a moment, but he's gone back to where he started in 5th place as the top 2 sprint away in the lead.
Yeah, the top 2 have just kind of gotten away, and then the rest of the grid have gone absolutely to battle with each other, and this is what we want to see, and that's a car going extremely wide. That's Dewhurst. Oh, that was a bit of a sketchy rejoin, but managed to avoid everyone else. Down into Vale we go, and there's a couple cars off of the track. Oh, that's a big incident. That's Lorenzato, who's gone into, I believe that's Walker, and Walker's going to be, well, less than pleased with Lorenzato. That was a bit silly. Oh, there's another car. I think that's Maldonado.
No. Such a good start for Maldonado. He was up a few places. Amazing start for San Miguel. He's up 3. Amazing start for Bjorklund. He's up 9. I feel like Bjorklund did a similar thing last time. So this was an insane move from Pletcher. I saw him gain 2 places, and that's how Pletcher lost the places. And then Lawrence... Yeah, I mean, I know that Lorenzato has to rejoin that, and but I think that's mainly Walker's fault, and that might be unpopular, but Walker, in that scenario, in my opinion, I'd say he should be aware that a driver is inevitably going to come back out on circuit, and contact was made. They both got a lot of work to do. Top 3, apologies, top 4 move from this race into the A final.
I mean, I guess the rules always say, the driver rejoining, it's on them, isn't it? So you would have to say that I think Lorenzato did have to take a bit more caution, but I get where you're coming from. I think I wouldn't say it's Walker's fault, but he could have avoided the incident, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, not Walker's fault, but definitely could have avoided a collision there, as Lorenzato obviously is the driver that lost out the most there, down in 13th place. And, well, Lorenzato was, what, a lap and a half away from getting into the A final, and now, well, it looks like it's going the opposite way. I don't think he's getting into that top 4 anytime soon. So the Frenchman's race in the space of, well, about 20 minutes has gone from, oh my god, I'm going to get a really good grid position in the A final, to, Oh dear, I'm in 13th in the B final. Honestly, that's how quickly these races can turn around. You've got to stay focused and got to stay on it at all times in a series like this where lap times are short, the races are fairly short. You've just got to keep consistent, get on the track, and just get into the A final. That's your only objective, and that's the only objective you should ever have. As the top 4 right now look fairly dead set. Got to be honest, the top 2 have run away with it, and 3rd and 4th look fairly comfortable in their own little bubble. 4 seconds between 4th and 5th. I think it could possibly end like this, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I didn't quite realise what the gaps are between 4th and 5th. Of course, huge gap from 2nd to 3rd, which was established back on lap 1. But whilst Bjorklund has gained 10 places now from his race start, an amazing launch from him, that might be as far as he goes for Sim Racing Norway. 3.5 seconds to catch up to Strand, who was one of the strongest drivers who didn't make it through. That top 4 genuinely very strong. Good performance so far from Lee as well. I wasn't even sure if he would make it through in the top 4, despite the fact that he started in P3. Thought there was a risk of him dropping back, but anything but. He is keeping tabs with the race leader, and is looking very comfortable. Probably the closest battles going on at the moment is San Miguel versus Dewhurst versus Walker. And then we've also got Walsh versus Jones versus Lorenzato. So plenty going on, albeit for the positions outside of the top 8.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think one of the battles we're going to get is between Strand and Smart. As, well, I've gone on about this before. The top 4 don't score any points. It's just a grid position. It's just one place in the A final where you start. And some drivers obviously think it's worth it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you want to be ahead of the drivers in front. But is it worth it? Going wheel to wheel, laps on end? I'm not sure. But everyone from 5th downwards is going to be scoring points. So for them, this is important. And they can go wheel to wheel as much as they like. As Walker desperately trying to get past. This is Dewhurst who's in front of him. And then got San Miguel. You would say Walker is quicker than both of these guys. A bit defensive into Stowe from Dewhurst. But could not hold off Walker as he goes up into 9th place. Fairly simple move. Is Dewhurst going to try and fight back? He's looking fairly aggressive, but eventually just tucks in nicely into 10th place. And Walker now sets his sights on San Miguel in front. Definitely looks like the quicker driver at the moment. And then can Walker catch up to the guys in front, Plesher and Mikau? I don't think he'll quite catch up to Bjorklund. I think that's a bit of a tall order, to be honest, as Bjorklund is setting some decent lap times himself. But, you know, it's definitely on for Walker to get some decent damage limitation points here today.
Yeah, Walker will be feeling like he could have been where Smart is right now, because they were very close in the heats. As there he goes past San Miguel. I do like that move into the cut through. It's an awful corner. It doesn't really feel like this circuit. They ever imagined that this circuit would be used when they made it necessarily, but they're like, you know what, you can join those two bits together. And obviously, as Jones moves up into P11, of course, this circuit with the national and the international, there's no overlap, so you can run the two circuits simultaneously, which is a plus point. So something that circuit designers always look out for is sort of that type of design where you can run two different circuits simultaneously. Lorenzato also gets past Walsh there. He's up into 12th place, albeit might be carrying a little bit of damage after his misdemeanors earlier on in the race. Back on lap 1, he'll probably get Jones, but that might be as far up as he gets with 7 minutes. Second half of this B final still to come.
I honestly don't know why that's something I never realised, but yeah, you can run this layout of Silverstone and the other layout of Silverstone at the same time. I mean, I don't necessarily think they do it in terms of safety. I guess they could put a huge barrier where Village is to stop drivers from going onto the back straight. But yeah, I don't know why that's something I never realised, that you can run both short layouts at the same time.
Well, I think it's something that I quite often read, obviously, racingcircuits.info, one of the best websites out there. And that's something that they very often mention. I think I was reading about like the Dubai Autodrome or something, And that's something that they mention in that, where it's like, oh yeah, of course they designed the circuit to have two different layouts happening simultaneously. Like you, I don't know when that happens. Like, often these circuits are like not used for months on end, so I don't know how often you need to have two events going on simultaneously, but it is an option, and it seems to be something that circuit designers care about.
Yeah, honestly, I think the only time as this is a battle going on between San Miguel and Dewhurst, as this is San Miguel, I believe, defending from the Brits. Dewhurst definitely was looking to get past there, couldn't quite get it done on that occasion. Definitely looking like he is going to get past eventually, as you can see in the background as well. Lorenzato trying to get past Jones. Got a few battles here for the last few points as we head down into Stone. You would say Dewhurst is the favourite to get this move done, but just doesn't quite go aggressively enough on the brakes. Did put San Miguel off though, so this could be on for a move into Vale as we now go under braking again. Dewhurst just lacking under braking a little bit to get that move done up into 9th as well. Lorenzato definitely not lacking in that department at all and gets ahead of Jones up into 11th place. Again, just damage limitation for the Frenchman as he was so eerily close to that A final. As we go side by side through turn 1. Definitely do not see this too often as San Miguel actually went on the brakes there coming through turn 2. I think he was almost bracing for an impact there, but Dewhurst finally does get past and up into 9th place. Definitely looking like he had some good pace, and what could have been for Dewhurst if his races just went that little bit better for him. But still in 9th, got some decent points in the bag as Lorenzato will now set his sights on the cars ahead. We now jump back to the battle for 3rd. It's been going on, but not really been going on. There's not really been any moves or anything so far, but is Strand gonna maybe go for a bit of a cheeky dive bomb over the next few laps? We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, that was something that I was thinking, going back to the smaller layout. The only time you really see the international or the other layout, I've forgotten, I think it's national or something. Yeah, there you go, thank you. The only time I really see it is, you know, when like F1 teams or whoever do those little promotional videos.
Yeah, Mercedes do it, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only time I can think that they've ever used this layout. I don't know what series use these layouts for racing. I honestly would just rather drive the normal Silverstone layout, and I think everyone else out there will agree with me on that.
Absolutely. I mean, you need a few less marshals and stuff like that to operate on the smaller layout, so you can have that benefit. But yeah, like there's so many good corners, and you can really only visit each one of them if you use the Grand Prix layout. So yeah, very much agree with you on that one. Still, this one is super close. Do a battle for P6. Mikhail would get good points. I know that it's only 6th place in the P final, but if I recall correctly, we've only got one. No, I think we've got 2 AM drivers through into the A final. So, I mean, if Mikhail could get this, he would be the 3rd highest scoring AM driver. That would be good points for the Amateur Championship. Walker is very close to Pleasure here on our outside. You might just be able to hear his engine notes underneath my voice. But Pleasure holds on Walker. Going to go on the outside again, not really going to get anything there. Might get himself in a position where he can dive through the cut through as Lorenzato unsurprisingly passes San Miguel. He's up into 10th place now, is the Frenchman. Walker has to stay behind, however, he remains in P8.
Just seeing the gaps as well, Lee has dropped off significantly from Bowl, so he's going to be one of the drivers to keep an eye out for as Walker goes up the inside of Pleasure. Looks like a bit of a late dive, isn't going to quite get the exit that he would have wanted, and Walker just being a little bit too aggressive under braking there, and well, it didn't even go up to 6th gear on the back straight as well, kept in 5th, maybe limiting his top speed a little bit as he was right on the rev limiter. Onto the, I believe this is going to be the 2nd to last lap now. It's looking like a fairly comfortable victory for Bowl out in front as well, he's got a 5-second gap to Lee behind. Can Walker get this move done? Goes up the inside. I think he's left it a bit late. Is Pleasure going to be on the outside? Pleasure actually let him through there. Looked like Walker made a bit of a mess of that dive bomb, but well, he got it done. He's up to 7th. And now, can he get those last few points up into 6th? I did think it would be a bit of a tall order for him to get to 5th, as Bjorklund look fairly comfortable in that position. But now Mikkel is going to have to look in his rearview mirror, as it's only a second between him and the 2 cars behind, so this could heat up over the next lap that we have left. But, track position, you would say, is favourable around here. And, well, can the Frenchman hold on? Like you say, this will be valuable points in the AM Championship if he can do so.
Yeah, it really would be. A couple of extra points to his name. It's Jones. Oh, that's San Miguel actually spinning right. Did he just hit Walsh? I'm not entirely sure. It looked like he got a bit of extra nose damage just as that happened. We're going to find out what happened to San Miguel now. He was having a decent race. He'd just been overtaken by Lawrence Arto, who was in 11th. He's dropped down to 13th due to this mistake as he spins round. And does he pull into Walsh? Yes, he does. But I think Walsh was all right.
Yeah, I think Walsh can carry on with that. I don't think that cost him too much damage. San Miguel, though.
This is it. This is it, Aaron. This is going to be the last lap. Only just.
Yeah, but only just, though, as, well, this battle is heating up. I thought Mikkel would be able to hold off the cars behind, but unfortunately for him, he's lost out to both of them unless something happens. Bit of contact between the Frenchman and Plescher in front. Is there going to be any moves into these final few corners? Excuse me, Mikkel trying to go for a move on Plescher. And Plescher now has the inside line. It's definitely going to be in the Swiss driver's favour. Unfortunate for the Frenchman, who loses those final 2 places on the last lap and loses those crucial points, but still wins in the AMs in this race anyway. And it has been a decent day for him, as it's very rare that we do see amateurs actually getting in to the A final. Bjorklund as well had a fairly quiet race in 5th place. And, well, Smart and Strand didn't end up fighting. They just kept positions smartly. I agree with them. Lee, though, really started to drop back in the closing stages of that race. He genuinely, I think he was about, 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Smart and Strand. And, well, it ended up being about 2 to him. So Lee's going to have to watch out in that A final.
Oh, no.
He really doesn't have the... Oh, dear.
I thought he was...
no.
I thought he may have, been on his post lap, James, but unfortunately there's not many hills around Silverstone. It is an old airfield, as I'm sure everyone says every time we visit this circuit.
Close.
But there is just a small gradient, and that is enough to get him to the line. That is wonderful stuff for Dan Jones. I'm sure one of his competitors would have given him a push if needs be. Albeit, I think you can get told off by iRacing if you do that. So, I don't know who's going to protest you for that. if you get helped across the line and you're like, you know what, I could get an extra position here, get an extra 5 iRates, I'm going to protest that guy for pushing me across the line. I don't know if anyone has ever done that, but yeah, they can get a little bit grumpy about it on iRacing, so do be careful of that. We are now into a 3-minute warm-up or cool-down, and then we'll be into the 18 minutes A final, which is where the big points are going to be handed out. I will take a quick opportunity to thank Apex Racing Academy for sponsoring this series. They are the title sponsor of this championship. And thanks to them for offering a free 1-month subscription to all the drivers who sign up for this series to Apex Racing Academy. And that gives them data packs, which include setups and track guides and B-laps and O-laps and everything you need in order to get faster in this Porsche Cup car for the official series circuits. So if you want to get a similar offer yourself, do go to apexracingac.com and make yourself a subscription. And also we have got some free Spa 24 setups available. So all you need to do is go to apexracingac.com. There'll be a Spa 24 button at the top of the screen. Put your email into that and you'll be emailed the setups for all of the GT3 cars totally for free for Spa 24. It's a really good deal. And yeah, if you're stuck on a setup with a few days to go, that is one of the best ways to get a good platform for the 24-hour race.
Once again, my brain has gone wandering, and you know how earlier on we were talking about Imola and how on earth you would turn it into a short layout? Because
it'd be hilly, wouldn't it?
Yes, the only thing that I can think of that would make some sort of sense is coming out of Villeneuve, like the second chicane. Instead of going all the way to Tosa, you cut straight to Acqua Minerale, so you avoid basically the top of the circuit.
Okay,
completely.
no, you're right. Yeah. I was thinking you were going to say just cut out Tosa, and then I was going to say there's a house there, Aaron, like I can pick the house. But no, actually, if you did do a hard left, if you turn Villeneuve into like a hairpin, then
That's
you're
what I mean,
absolutely
yeah.
right. Yeah, you could. So no, that's a good shout. I mean, it'd be way worse, the circuit, but yeah. I
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
considering the gradient challenges and the geographical challenge, I mean, that was a big reason why they didn't increase the runoff at Tamburello, wasn't there? Because there was a big river, I think, on the outside of Tamburello. So it's a really demanding geography circuit, that. So yeah, I think your suggestion is pretty much as the only one I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to think, what's the point? Because you are only taking out a few corners. I mean, I don't know why you'd shorten Imola. It's, for me, probably one of the more perfect racetracks on the planet. But I wouldn't say it's good for racing, but for driving, it's amazing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's rivaled by too many other tracks, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree. It would be really good. So it's by far, and everyone knows this, it's by far the best circuit on the schedule this season. That would be the season finale. Only thing I would say is that I could do with Alta being removed. If
Yes.
Formula One are going to keep on going there, remove Alta. There's no reason why you need to have it, and then you have a nice extended straight. Makes a lot of sense. But yeah, no sign of that being removed for now. Zavadil on pole position then. Pascal Costa alongside. Remember, Costa has not lost a race all season. Let's see if he can make it 4 from 4 in this A final. Nils Christiansen and Faria in the second row of the grid. Bernard top of the Pro-Am. So it's White, Lane, Hammer, Makhmutov, Dimbolo, Bitterov top of the AMs. Then it's Van Hout, Kos, Swan, who's the second place AM, Bowl, Lee, Smart and Strand. And I think everyone's on the grid already. So we will see if that fiercely forward liveried car of Dalton Zavadil can get the start he needs to propel him potentially into a first A final victory in Apex Racing League. Away we launch as a strong start for the front three on the grid. Decent start as well for fourth. Poor start for Ethan Bernard. He's straight away falling backwards as look at Costa just about getting himself alongside, and I think he might be able to pull ahead. Zavadil trying to get ahead, and now Lane has gone spinning up, and hopefully there's no unsafe rejoins. Unfortunately there is, and two more drivers go off the circuit. Salvatore Lane gaining a couple of places from that. It's an awful start from Bernard, and Zavadil has lost out to Costa then, only by a couple of tenths of a second. Costa's a bit slow at the corner, and look at the run there. That's Parker White going on the grass trying to take the lead.
Well, maybe he listened to me and he needs to get his elbows out right now. What a move around the outside there for Zavadil, sending it round the outside, but it has left him a bit vulnerable on the exit. Costa is now in the lead. Parker White now trying to go around the outside of his American compatriot into the final few corners we go. They bang wheels. Parker White nearly gets sent round, catches the car beautifully on the exit. Dimbolo is now up to fourth place. Good start from him. And like I said, I don't know if anyone heard at the start, Faria had one of the best saves I think I've ever seen in this car. He genuinely was nearly sideways coming out of the first corner and somehow managed to keep it on the track, and he's still in this race in fifth place. Philip Hammer in sixth place, Kos in seventh, and Christiansen down in eighth place. Heartbreak for the Norwegian, now down to ninth, battling with Boll. There's a car off in the background, not sure who that is. It's Bitterov, the guy who looked so strong in that first heat race, has now gone back all the way down the order to 18th place. Still only the second AM driver, but he's only the second AM driver in this race, as Christiansen now having to go a little bit defensive from Boll, as Lee has had a pretty good start, up 6 places. Same for Boll as well. They're both equally up 6. And, well, what a start to this race that we've had. Very, very interesting racing so far. Couple incidents here and there, but we're going to take a look, I'm guessing, at that start once again.
Yeah, so here's Lane then. I guess Faria is going to have to save. I missed that initially, actually, Aaron. But it was a very good save from... Oh, and then it's just a tiny little tap. And the drivers around the to scatter, but I don't think it was a good rejoin. I think from Ethan Bernard, who I think was the bad rejoin, who had already had a poor launch off the line. He was down a few places before he even got into turn 1. Christensen, by the way, he lost a bunch of places. I think he was fighting for the lead, and then I think he got a slowdown somewhere. Maybe ran too wide at this corner, which you can do. I think Igor Kos may have just done it. He's making an extra corner for himself on the hanger straight, and I think it's lifting out a bit, so I think he may have run too wide, and he drops down to 9th place. Behind him, Van Hout versus Lee, who had to advance through the B final in order to get into this race, and he's making good use of it at the moment. Strand as well, another promotee from the B final. They're currently not able to move into the top 10.
Wow, I mean, this it's definitely shaken up the order so far, and I would really like to see that Farrier save on board, because I don't know how on earth he did it. I think he collided with White, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of the cars up the front. He had a pretty good launch, and it was a slight tap. These cars can be quite sensitive. Just the slightest of taps can upset them, and you're just in the gravel, in the wall, wherever. And you have to be careful with the cars around you. Like you said, I think Christensen did have a slowdown, and but unfortunately I can't see it.
Oh, well, I can see it. So I missed the slide early on, but here we go. So he was barely alongside. He actually gets on the brakes quite a bit, actually does Farrier. And that, I think he just snaps away. And then I think he was the one who hit Lane. I think I missed that, actually, but he was the one who hit Lane. Not Farrier's fault or anything. It was just 3 wide in that corner. And he somehow manages to get through it all. Yeah, pretty amazing that works out as well as it did for Farrier. Oh, and off goes Philip Hammer. Wow, that is quite some impact. We get to see his reaction straight away. There isn't much of one, but that is a big surprise for the car to lose in that scenario, and we did not see a whole lot of that when he won 8 out of 10 races last season.
No, not what you expect to see from one of the top drivers in this series. And while I couldn't see the replay, I could see what was going on, and Farrier did just get past Hammer. So potentially Hammer was trying to get a good exit, maybe touch the inside curb, and just went for a big spin. And then, like you said, a very, very rare mistake, and not one we expect to see from the likes of Philip Hammer. And we can have one more look at it. And this is just after the move that Farrier made, and maybe just lost the car completely by himself. Oh no, that's way too much curb. Oh dear. These cars are designed to take curb, but I don't think it's meant for that mountain that's on the last corner here at Silverstone.
Yeah, when I was watching the Grand Prix the other day, I did notice that they've shaved a lot of the curbs, haven't they? Partially because it was the who's the terrible driver, Nissani, nearly got decapitated a couple of seasons back, didn't he? When he I think he forced someone else over the curb, and then they went over the curb and nearly hit him. Would have probably been a serious injury, if not worse, had it not been for the halo. So wisely removing those curbs. However, with the scan we've got for this Silverstone circuit, we still have those curves, and Philip Hammer was definitely a victim of that on that occasion. Back with the top three, Parker White, a little bit of deja vu for him. Ran in 3rd place for the entirety of the A final last time, and it's the same story so far in this one. Behind him, however, is getting feisty. Dimbolo versus Farrier. That is Dimbolo holding on against Farrier. That was a good drive from the pair of them to leave space. Fairly generous, and Farrier will have to try again. They've already lost touch with the top 3. This is purely about who's going to finish in 4th.
Yeah, pretty much. And Farrier again showing off his good car control. I'm not surprised if his tyres have gone a little bit overheaty on that Brazilian's Porsche Cup car, as he has had a couple spins here and there, but he sliding there through turn 4. Farrier's car is starting to make me ever so slightly nervous, gotta be honest. It does not look fully under control, but for the moment Farrier is keeping it on the circuit, desperately trying to get past the Brit in front of him. Dimbolo is doing a very, very good job. I think he was my pick to win the Pro-Ams, but had a bit of a disappointing first round, unfortunately. Doing a lot better here at his home race, going very defensive into the turn 7, as Farrier trying again, just desperately any space to try and get past Dimbolo, but Dimbolo is a bit of an aggressive defender, as we have seen time and time again. Farrier doing the cheeky grass strat. Naughty Brazilian, you're not meant to do that. As we go through turn 1 and now turn 2, it does look like Dimbolo could potentially hold on to this position for a while, but just has to be careful not to get too defensive and leave himself open to an attack from Farrier and potentially even Christensen.
Yeah, it's a real difficulty to balance that out, and we've got a long way to go. If it was 2 more laps to go, then it's fairly easy, but or it's fairly simple on what you need to do. But with 10 minutes to go, you've got to be thinking, can I survive without contact with the way that I am driving? At the moment, he is surviving in that position. Farrier might just dive to the inside here. He wants to go for it, but Dimbolo definitely saw that one coming. He was never going to leave more than a car's width on the inside. He's gone very wide, and we almost thought we might have a here comes Hamilton moment. There goes Farrier. He goes up the inside though, and he is going to be able to get through. It wasn't the biggest cutback in the world, but Dimbolo was so tight through Vale that he was unable to respond. Christensen also moves past now after a slowdown on lap 1. He is up into 5th position. Dimbolo might be able to come back, but Christensen is through and up into 5th place now.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Dimbolo did have to be defensive, but just into Vale, he was far too defensive. He tried to cover off the move from Farrier, getting very tail happy coming out of Beckett's. And well, what is Dimbolo going to be able to do now? Is he going to be able to keep up with the guys ahead, or is he just going to lose time and potentially fall into the hands of the cars behind? And well, the latter is looking more likely, as he is losing a little bit of time, and potentially this could be a change in lead eventually for the Pro-Ams. This is going to be between Dimbolo and Bowl. And well, Bowl has had a fantastic comeback race so far, as he started in 15th, coming through the B final, of course. And Bell's up to 7th at the moment, and potentially, if he can get past Dimbolo, on for a class win, which definitely is going to be one of the better comebacks, you'd have to say, so far that we've seen this season.
Yeah, it really would be. I think the drive earlier on from Bjorklund to move up 8 places, that was a very good comeback of it. It really came to anything, did it, with for Bjorklund in the B final? I think he may have had a setback early on, whereas this would absolutely mean a lot for Bowl if he could be able to pull off this 7th place in his favour, and maybe even higher, maybe a class victory. Of course, the drivers do score points for their overall position. People aren't aware. And by the way, we did get a message from Kevin W. Saying Philip didn't see the curb because he was so close to Farrier. That's why he hit it. That's very understandable, and that is something that you should all remember, because often it's the turbulent air which affects you when you're following another driver, but also it's your vision, especially in these GT cars. Not easy to see where you're going, and you're sort of having to guess where the curbs are, and unfortunately that's such a low margin of error corner, and Hammer was fell victim to it on that occasion.
Yeah, unfortunate there, and well, I guess it's a mistake that a lot of us have made, especially at a track that has fairly aggressive curbs, as Hammer now tries to go past Kieran Smart for 13th place. Fairly easy move for the German, up into 13th now, and well, what can he do over these next 7 odd minutes? Probably can try and fight for the top 10 if he catches up to the group ahead. It's definitely not over for Philip Hammer, but definitely going to take a hit in terms of the Drivers and Teams Championship. Here's Bowl now trying to go for a move on Dimbolo, but Dimbolo going defensive once again to the inside. You've got Kos now getting involved, and that's contact again for Kos. Half spins round and only loses a place in the end, but overheats his tyres, and it's yet more contact for Igor Kos. And well, is there going to be a race where this man doesn't make contact? It was a bit of an optimistic move, you'll have to say. He wasn't really in that fight, and well, inevitable contact there, you'd say, with Bowl. And well, it just gets worse and worse for Kos every single time we take a look at him. It's Strand on Lee as well, as Lee's really struggling. Strand nearly loses the car coming out of turn 3. Makamutov now getting involved in this battle for the top 10. as Lee once again struggling for pace. And Makamutov just weaving down the straight there. He's got Philip Hammer, who's caught right up to the back of this train. And Philip Hammer definitely now in contention for those top 10 spots.
Thibaut Fauci asking, Lauren Zarte still in the race? No. Unfortunately, he was doing really well in race 1, in 5th, spun, dropped outside the top 7, and then he had issues right at the start of the B final. So he got eliminated in the B final. I think finished in 10th place in the B final, where he needed a top 4 in order to advance. So no more Lauren Zarte, unfortunately, in the race. But hopefully we'll see him back next week, trying to make amends for what has been a disappointing evening for him. As there goes, well, Christensen, by the way, has got past Farrier, but also Hammer's trying to move up a place. But that is a surprise move there for Christensen, as we see some smoke we drive through, and Hammer still is unable to get past. But Farrier's got back past Christensen now. Here they are. What a battle this is going on. It was all going on through the cut through, so an unusual place to overtake. Farrier looks like he's going to come out on top in this one, just about covers off the inside line. Now leaves himself vulnerable. Christensen's just going to go back on the inside. Farrier was sort of asking for that, and now it's another driver who spins on the inside of Club. We've seen it already before. We saw it just a couple of laps ago, and Christensen drops down into 9th behind Dimbelow and Boll.
Oh dear. I mean, I would need an onboard to see how close they really were, but it was a very aggressive defensive movement there for Farrier, going down into Vale, and then Christensen, you'd say the move was on up the inside, and I don't really know if Farrier just didn't leave him that much room and forced him on the inside curb. Let's have a look. This is at the start of the
originally
battle.
got past, yeah.
Yeah, this is initially what happened, and did Farrier maybe make a mistake? Oh, he did. That's a mistake that we saw earlier. I can't remember who it was for. Yeah, it was Lorenzato. So perhaps the link is into turn 4 is a bit more of a difficult corner than we thought. Potentially, as the tyres get worn and maybe a bit overheated, that corner can become a bit tricky. As now we go down into Stowe, very, very close between these two. And well, let's look at the movements from Farrier. He kind of moves one direction, then back up to the inside. Goes Christensen.
Oh, he did squeeze him a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he
needed to leave some space. I know that, we get used to it and so, well, the driver was on the inside. He should be able to fend for himself. But unfortunately, in these cars, that's not how it works. You do need to always leave space. You do need to try to avoid contact if ever possible. Obviously, a lot of it is as well as down to iRacing, like that. The cars maybe shouldn't react quite in that manner. They should be able to rub and sort of hit each other through the corner and not spin round. But unfortunately, that's not how the damage model works on that front. Dimbelow came very close to losing the place to Boll a few moments ago, but he managed to hang on and is still in 5th place. What a result this would be. I know that he lost out earlier on to, I think it was to Farrier and Christensen, but he's got back ahead of one of them, and he's keeping behind Boll still with just a couple of laps to go.
Yeah, Dimbelow once again showing that he is good at defending. Not invincible, of course, as we did see Farrier get past in the end. But every single experience is going to be a learning one for Dimbelow, as this is Christensen going up the inside of Boll. Don't think Boll's going to be fighting that one too much. And honestly, Boll possibly is just going to have to wait for Christensen to try and make a move on Dimbelow and then sense that opportunity and follow him through. Since Dimbelow doesn't seem like an easy driver to pass at all, but is staying well within the legal limits of driving at the moment. Not really seeing anything too aggressive from Dimbelow so far. And, Dimbelow possibly is going to want to defend this one from Christensen, as it gives him those extra points, of course, ahead of Boll, and a bit of a buffer between himself and Boll, and Hut as well in 8th. So this is going to be an interesting final lap for Dimbelow. I believe this is going to be the final lap as Costa comes across the line. And watch out for Zavidal and White as well. That potentially could heat up as well.
No,
as that's Christensen going for another spin again. Is that at the same corner? Did he try and go for a move on Dimbelow?
So it's Dimbelow ahead. Christensen.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's all by himself.
So Dimbolo was really late on the brakes, and he was like, I've got to brake a bit later than Dimbolo here. And Dimbolo was so close to the corner edge anyway that Christensen had absolutely no chance.
White's made a mistake.
Yeah, he's dropped back a bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was right on the back. Quite sure what's happened to White. Is he going to make the same mistake as
he went for the move.
Oh, he did. Oh, that's way too deep.
So he realised mid-corner, I'm going to hit this guy, and then got on the throttle in order to avoid him, I think. As Dimbolo and Bol still battling, this is the last lap of the race. This is what the Pro-Am lead is going to come down to. Dimbolo is still holding on. What a defensive masterclass. This has been from the privateer, the 2-1-1, who will surely be home and dry now. Costa wins, Zabadil second, White, Farrier, but Dimbolo, probably the most box office driver out there, finishing in 5th place overall, and top of the Pro-Ams. Van Hout gained massively on the guys in the closing stages. Christensen with a late spin drops down to 9th. He will be disappointed. Several cases of incidents, I think 3 incidents for him across that race, which dropped him multiple places. And it was Luke Swan who did lose a few places in the closing stages, but ended up being the top AM driver, and I think will maintain the championship lead in the amateur standings.
Yeah, I believe so. Swan just dropping back, as you say, over those last few laps, but I mean, he still scored the most out of any amateurs, so I don't think he'll care too much, to be honest. But wow, yeah, like you said, Dimbolo definitely putting on a show for the rest of us. And Christensen, remember, I mean, this is his first race this season, got pole, but just in both races, just lacked a little bit. And unfortunately, made his own mistakes. And like you say, a couple mistakes on this final few laps, ended up in 9th place.
Yeah, 9th place, which I like, to be honest, with the issues that he had, I almost thought he'd be lower than that, because yeah, there was a slowdown and 2 spins basically, and yet he managed to finish in 9th place. But there's Costa, 4 from 4 now for Costa. I really did think it was going to come to an end, this run of results, and with the drop score as well, he is in a fairly difficult to beat position now, especially with various drivers always seemingly occupying the 2nd place. I think Parker White will be up into 2nd place in the championship. Salvatore was 2nd in that race. There's Farrier, Dimbolo top of the Pro-Ams ahead of Bol, Van Hout, Koss, Christensen, Strand, Lee, Makhmutov, Hammer, Smart, Bernard, Swan, Lane. Didn't really see what happened to Lane apart from that Abbey spin in the A stages. Maybe that was it. Maybe he had a bit of damage after that. And Bitsuroff in 18th place. We will see if we've got any interviews with drivers. Just a reminder as well to everyone who's watching live, if you fancy taking part in this championship, you can do. Go to apexracingleague.com. Of course, if you want to check out as well any of our other series, Apex Racing Academy Super Formula Lights is tomorrow. We've just announced Racing Unleashed GT3 series, which is on a Sunday evening, and that has €3,500 of prize money. Pretty immense. That's prize pool, the biggest that I think we've probably done in terms of pure cash, and so definitely do check that out by going to apexracingleague.com, where you can see our other series as well, GT3 Trophy, and also many others as well. Well, we will have a chat now with a couple of our drivers, and I think I am first going to selfishly jack up Dalton Zabadil, who joins us now. Dalton, congratulations. A first and a second tonight around a very short circuit. How did you find driving this slightly unusual layout?
It is a very interesting layout. We had to do some interesting things in regards to the setup to get it to work properly. It looks like we're probably running a bit more wing than what the Impulse guys are, so we're probably going to look at that before our qualifying race comes Saturday. But overall, pretty happy with the result, and learned a lot coming into this, so really happy with that.
Absolutely. Talk us through how the qualifiers are going so far for you. I mean, we've only had one round, but you more or less confident than you were 1 week ago before the first round? I'm
similarly confident. Last week, I kind of had a garbage race here at in this league, but I ended up P8 in second split in the qualifiers, so I'm relatively up there in regards to the point standings. So no reason why we can't move forward on that leaderboard.
Definitely, yeah. It's a really good start to the season for yourself. And yeah, how was it when it was fighting with Parker out there? Because he seemed to be sat on your rear bumper for the entire race, and then he sent one send at the final corner on the final lap. I mean, were you confident throughout the race that you were going to be able to hold him off, or were you always a little bit nervous?
I was always just kind of keeping one eye on my rearview mirror for sure, just to kind of see what he was doing. He seemed in pretty much both this race and last race, he seems to have been really conservative with his moves. So I wasn't too concerned about him making a move until pretty late. When he did send it, I kind of figured he would do something. And when he did, he was just a little bit too far back and locked up a wheel, and rest is history there. But yeah, I mean, I think our setup's probably a little bit too wing heavy, and it's really causing us to lose a ton of time in the straight. I noticed I literally wouldn't gain any time on Pascal, even in the draft, in the straights. So again, that's going to be something we're going to have to look at. So Parker may have been able to take heavy advantage of our higher wing and this stick in my draft from just because of that. So.
And when it comes to the wing, do you think you might take that out on the quali setup as well, or do you think you're just going to aim for the raceability side of it and just take out a bit of wing when it comes to the race set?
We'll see. Just got plenty of testing to do, and can't know for certain what we want to do until we do a little bit more. But now that we kind of have an idea of where we're sitting pace-wise compared to the field, we can adjust from here. So.
Well, very glad that was a good use for you today. Dalton, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. Big shout out to the team Fiercely Forward and P1 Docs. Without the team and without this opportunity to work with Bernardo and trying to find maximum pace, I don't think there's much of any way I'd be able to put on quite as good of a performance as I did today. So I'm really happy with that result, and big thanks to everybody out there watching. And thank you to you guys for commentating.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for putting on a good show for us, Dalton, and we'll see you back next week.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Dalton Zavadil there, your runner-up tonight for Fiercely Forward. Aaron, who are you going to drag up?
Well, I'm going to drag up our fellow Briss in Joseph Dimbolo. I mean, we were saying it up here in the commentary booth, absolute... Well, honestly, it was like watching a soap, watching you defend from driver after driver, 2 5th places tonight, and a good chunk of points. Joseph, how are you feeling?
I'm very happy with my performance. If I may say so myself, the defending, it was spot on.
Yeah, that's honestly what we were saying. I mean, it was entertainment from start to finish.
Yeah, a lot of people were having incidents and moments behind, and I just had to try and make my way through it cleanly, and then almost fell into my hands when people started to make mistakes behind me.
Yeah, it kind of went both ways. You had to defend from, I think, about 5 drivers behind you in the end, but it worked out, and of course came away with the Pro-Am victory. And after these first 2 rounds, how are you feeling in terms of championship? Do you think that this is on for you potentially?
Well, I'm quite sad to say that I will be missing the next 2 rounds because I'll be off on holiday. So yeah, it's a little bit of a shame, really. I don't think I'll be in the championship fight necessarily, but yeah, I'm still very happy with the performances. And yeah, it was a bit of a shame in the Hockenheim race with the incident at T1, but that kind of ruled me out there. But apart from that, yeah, it's been very enjoyable.
Well, you definitely have to take the positives from it, seeing as, you know, two fairly good results tonight, especially in that feature race, managing to hold off pretty much everyone that came into contact with you, to be honest. But, well, the next two rounds, it's a shame. I mean, you're not going to be here until, I believe, Nürburgring, so that is going to be your next round. How are you feeling for that, I guess?
I'm assuming it's the GP layout, is that right?
I believe so. It's going to be a layout I can't pronounce because it's German, obviously.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sprintstrecke, whatever.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's the. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, Nürburgring is great.
That's the short one, unfortunately. That's like
There you go.
You imagine turning right after the Tilke section, so you get rid of like all the best corners. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'll be nice to get back in the car after that. We'll see how the pace is, and yeah, I'll be following along with the championship as when I'm away, and I'd love to catch up with the races, see what's going on.
Yeah, potentially you could still bag a couple good results for those final few rounds, but it's been a pretty good day for you, Joseph, so we'll let you go celebrate that one. Before you do, though, anyone you want to give a mention or shout out to?
Well, it's just you guys. Thank you very much for the coverage. It's always amazing, and yeah, my family at home love watching it, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words, and well, congratulations on a very successful day here at Silverstone, and good luck in 3 weeks' time.
Thank you very much. Good night.
That was Joseph Dimbley, our favourite driver, because he's nice. Parker White will now join us. He was our third place finisher tonight. Parker, another round, another third place. How was it? It seemed like it was quite similar, your events tonight compared to last time, at least when it came to the A finals, of you having to sort of patiently wait behind in third place, looking for a move, but it never quite happening.
Yeah, the race was quite uneventful. The start was quite hectic, both in the heat races and in the main. In my heat race, I was side by side for the lead. I just wasn't able to make it work going down the backstretch, but in the start of the feature, Freya spun out in front of me and I was able to get by him, and then we were all bunched up, just like the heat race, going down the backstretch, and I was all the way on the inside right next to the grass. Almost cleared for P2, but just couldn't quite get it done. So the rest of the race, I was just sitting behind Dalton trying to keep my tires in shape, and we really couldn't do anything to catch Pascal. So I felt like I was way better under braking. I think turn 3, the first heavy braking zone. So on the last lap, I tried to send it, but I felt that the fronts were starting to lock up. So I knew I was just going to miss a corner, so I just throttled it up, just let Dalton have the spot back. I had, I think, like an 8-second gap back to Freya. So yeah, just overall a pretty clean race. I learned today that I probably won't be racing in the qualifiers this weekend, just the way that our Spot 24 lineups are. So I'm racing the qualifiers just for fun. I'm technically in contenders, but I've already forfeited my spot since I raced in the Hockenheim. So yeah, I just wanted to run this just to get the points and see if I can go for a gym chip here.
Definitely. Well, yeah, you certainly gained good points. I think you'll be second place in the championship after tonight. We've got Red Bull Ring coming up next. How do you feel about the national circuit on that? It's by far the shortest round of the championship, maybe the most tricky to overtake as well. Like turn 2 is really the only chance there. Did you enjoy that circuit last year when we visited it? A bit like how you enjoyed Silverstone International?
Yeah, I feel like all these short layouts are very unique. I've really enjoyed driving at them. Last year, I might be a bit biased because I had quite a bit of success last year in the qualifiers and in this league. So yeah, it was a very fun track last year. I remember for qualifiers, we were expecting a very cold session, and then we load into the server and it's very hot, and I feel like I was able to adapt quite quickly. But yeah, Red Bull Ring has always been quite a fun track for me to drive, and I've had some good pace there in the past, so I'll see if I can go get my first one on the season next week.
And how are you feeling about Spa 24? I mean, Williams are well known for doing very well in the special events. You guys have a fantastic record. How are you feeling your chances of a potential top split win this weekend? Do you think that might be on the cards?
hopefully we can get it done. I did a stint last night with the Ferrari. I felt quite good with that. Just we've all been waiting for the final BOP to come out. We're expecting the Ferrari to get quite a big hit on the BOP, so we'll just have to see what car we want to run, and then once we make that decision, we'll just try to make the setup the best we can, and feel like our lineups are quite good across all of our cars, so hopefully at least one of our cars can get the win.
Well, best of luck for that one, Parker. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course, just like last week, got to thank you guys at Apex Racing TV for the broadcast, Apex Racing League, everyone that showed up tonight for the race. It was a lot of fun, and of course, have to thank Williams Esports as well.
Super. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Parker, and we'll see you back next week.
Thank you, I'll see you.
Parker White there, your third place finisher tonight, and I think runner-up in the championship after the first couple of rounds. Aaron, like I said, Red Bull Ring National, Parker's very positive about these circuits, and thank goodness someone is, because that place is, I only actually like the Grand Prix layout, the drive, I mean, like in Formula 1 obviously, it's constantly one of the best races of the season, but to drive, I'm not a big fan of it, and I think the national circuit takes it to a new level in terms of my lack of enjoyment.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it and slightly biased, since as a kid I used to race around that track religiously on the old F1 games, so it kind of became one of my favorite tracks. But as I've gotten older, yeah, I can kind of understand why people don't like it, especially the final sector. The off tracks are interesting to say the least. They do probably need to be a bit more lenient. But yeah, again, it cuts out some of the best overtaking opportunities on the track. So I don't really know where they're going to go for moves, to be honest. But hey, we'll find out next week.
Yeah. Historically, it's been turn 2, where you basically just have to like bomb it on the inside. So if you can imagine turn 2, it's like maybe 100 meters after turn 1, and you take a turn right. Besides that, there is nowhere to overtake. It's all sort of flowing corners one into the other. So maybe a few slowdowns might offer some chances, but yeah, generally will be very tricky to overtake. Well, that will be on the channel once again next week. Of course, there's plenty more coming up on Apex Racing TV as well over the next few days. Apex Racing Academy Super Formula Lights tomorrow. We have got Apex Racing League GT3 Trophy on Friday, along with the Radical Esports Official Series, and many more series, Vicmo Tech and Co, all coming up next week as well. So do make sure to check that all out on Apex Racing TV, and do check out our social medias as well on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Also, of course, if you wouldn't mind, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Aaron Smith and from Samili Kume, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you back next week for round 3 of the championship from the Red Bull Ring. See you then.